third in the solar system, is the only planet where not only life-supporting water, oxygen and right temperature are available, but also she has a rich treasure of enormous amount of mineral wealth. Any nation's economic and social status is solely determined in terms of the mineral deposits and other natural resources. A vast country like ours has large deposits of a variety of minerals such as asbestos, beryl, coal, graphite, gold, gypsum, iron, limestone, petroleum, zinc, etc., distributed in different states. Karnataka state is blessed with large deposits of high-grade iron in Chikmagalur district, copper in Chitradurga district, iron and manganese in Bellary district, aluminium near Belgaum, and gold in Raichur district. Gold, the most versatile metal, long considered to be the king of metals, is a member of first B group of the periodic table. Gold derives its name from an Anglo-Saxon language. Giolo means yellow. Its symbol Au stands for Aurum, which according to Greek mythology means goddess of wealth and prosperity. Man has blessed and cursed, defined and abhorred gold. Its untarnishable yellow glitter, relative scarcity, chemical inertness, and the one that can be encashed during the time of financial crisis render it to this day the most acknowledged international measure of material values. In India, jewels are believed to possess attributes that protect the wearer from evil spirits. Who does not want to wear jewelry? Has anyone given a serious thought as to know the evolution of that precious metal occurring in deep mines, that too in very, very small quantities? To learn all about gold, let us go to Hatti Gold Mines, India's only producer of primary gold in Raichur district of Karnataka, about 500 kilometers from Bangalore. Hatti Gold Mines are probably one of the most ancient in the world, dating back to pre-Ashokan period. Mining has been active only since 1947. To keep pace with the rapid industrialization, gradually excavation and exploration of gold ore and extraction of gold have been mechanized and modernized. Men, materials and machines making entry into the shaft in search of gold should make use of the headgear. Headgear is the lifeline and backbone of any deep mining operation. For these people, entering into the cage to reach deep mines every day is a birthday. The headgear is carefully operated and monitored by skilled, experienced and committed workers, since deep mining operation is full of risks.
Hey Chaudhary, bell बराबर आ रहा क्या? Bell बराबर आ रहा क्या? Bell ठीक आ रहा है भाई. हाँ सुरभ, हाँ कितना हो गया?
This is the data of ventilation. Suppose here, what is known as ventilation checkboard. It reveals that how much, what is the quantity of air is available here, and all the what is the velocity of the air, and etc. So very frequently the ventilation officer, they will come and they will measure this quantity and velocity of the air, and it will be noticed. This is as per the requirement of DGMS safety. Once we get down from the shaft, we'll put then a cross cut. This is the cross cut in east-west direction. This is west and this is the east. So this will be about 350 meters length. Once we expose and we develop like this, put a cross cut, we'll expose all the gold bearing ore bodies. So for example here, if you go towards westernmost is a Vaucluse reef, we call it as Vaucluse. So whatever the yellow color you are seeing, this is the gold bearing reef. We call it as a reef. The auriferous reef. Aurum is a gold. Because of that is known as auriferous gold. So then we come to here, then middle reef we got. So there is one more reef, Jonai reef, then strike reef, hang wall and foot wall. So like this, the 4 reefs have been developed at each and every level, and we went on doing mining. See, normally gold occurs, I told you, in the form of dots, small dots, some streaks like that, specks. But here it is known as smearing. So normally in the fracture planes or in the fold hinges, normally the gold occurs like this in the form of this. This is a typical. See, nuggets, you can see very closely, these are the nuggets, very small nuggets. So gold is associated with the quartz, grey color quartz. So that in the black rock, what you call, there it doesn't occur. But here, always it occurs very rich. It is not like the base metals, copper, iron ore you must have seen very uniformly mineralized, we can see it. There 60% iron means, 70% iron means, everywhere it will be 60 to 70%. But in gold it will not be there. It is very erratic mineralization.
Though gold ore is an erratic mineral and does not occur uniformly, geologists have found a method of identifying the path of gold by following the path of its accompanying tungsten ore called scheelite. Scheelite is not visible to the naked eye, but visible only with the help of ultraviolet light in total darkness. Wherever tungsten ore is available, mostly gold ore is also available.
The gold is occurring in the Hatti gold mines in the form of nuggets. As you are seeing here, it is in the calcite, and also it occurs in the grey quartz. In most of the cases, gold occurs in the form of nuggets as well as in the form of dots and specks and stringes. Here in these two samples, the gold is occurring in the form of smears. Smears in the sense the gold is occurring in the fold hinges or along the fracture planes. It looks like as if the gold material is being brushed. Actually this is all what is the yellow color it is seen, it is a gold. Whereas if you come to this sample, this particular sample though looks like gold, but it is not gold, it is known as fool's gold. But how to differentiate between the real gold and the fool's gold? One small test can be carried out, that is known as a streak plate test. Suppose if you take a gold mineral and if you rub it on the streak, so you will not get any mark on the streak plate. Similarly, if you take a fool's gold and if you rub it, then you can have this black color streak on the streak plate. So it shows, so this is a fool's gold and this is without any leaving the black color is a real gold. This is how we differentiate in the field between the fool's gold and the real gold.
After drilling operations, huge lumps of gold ore are loaded. Loaded loco ships the ore to Grizzly at 2,000 feet below the ground level. The rock breaker breaks hard and dense bigger lumps to smaller pieces of size less than 15 inches. Broken pieces dropped from Grizzly at 2,000 feet are fed to a specially designed crusher working at 2,200 feet below the ground. The ore is then sent to crushing machines at 2,400 feet below the ground. Now, the crushed ore moving on a conveyor belt is loaded in the cage at 2,400 feet below the ground. Every time, about 5.5 tons of ore is hoisted from deep mine to the ground level. It is estimated that a rich grade ore may contain a maximum of only 4 grams of gold for every 1,000 kilograms of the ore. Generally, hoisting of the ore is done every day from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. The crushed ore is transported to the mill located at the ground level. Weighed quantities of ore collected from the deep mines is dumped into the ore bin. The primary jaw crushers crush the ore collected from different shafts to a size of 2.5 inches. Secondary crushers crush the ore to a size of 1 inch. The tertiary crushers further break the ore to smaller size of 10 millimeters. Crushing and grinding of the ore to such a fine powder is essential because sodium cyanide used in the later stage to recover gold chemically will be effective only when ore is finely pulverized. Most of the energy and investment is spent only on hoisting of the ore from the deep mines and in pulverizing the ore itself. The finely crushed gold ore is then sent to the ball mills for further grinding in presence of a suitable grinding medium. The ore is finely ground to a size of about 200 mesh. The pulverized ore mixed with water, now called slurry, from the ball mills flows on the wooden blankets on sloping tables. Most of the free gold particles of size more than 40 microns are held back on the blankets. These blankets are washed with water in a tank. Gold particles and other dense impurities settle at the bottom of the tank. Gold bearing thin mud by mixing with water is subjected to gravity concentration using Wilfley table. Gravity concentration is based on the physical principle. When water flows over an inclined plane, rate of flow of water is lowest near the interface and increases as the surface of water is approached. Further, particles with high specific gravity move slowly than the lighter ones, so that a separation of small dense particles from large light particles can be achieved. The table has equally spaced wooden or metal riffles mounted on slightly inclined frame and is vibrated mechanically to and fro. As the water stream and ore particles pass over the table, ore is subjected to two forces. One force right angle to the motion of the table and the other due to flowing of water. The result of this is dense, free gold particles of specific gravity 19.3 collect at the far end, and the lighter impurities carried over the riffles are discharged over the edge of the table. Magnetic impurities associated with non-magnetic gold are removed by playing with a strong magnet. Gold with other dense impurities collected in the boxes is subjected for panning. Traces of magnetic impurities are removed by playing with a magnet. Here it is repeatedly washed with water. Water is decanted. Wet solid residue is heated to remove water completely. Dry solid produced still contains sulfides and arsenides of other metals. This solid is non-saleable in pure gold. After roasting, it is sent for smelting. Slurry flowing out from the sloping tables contains gold in the combined state and free gold particles of less than 40 micron size. This is sent for cyanidation. Slurry is mixed with lime solution to render it basic. Dilute solution of sodium cyanide is added to leach out gold.
ಇದು cyanide solution ಇದು solid into liquid ಮಾಡತಕ್ಕಂತ ಒಂದು cyanide ಇದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ವಿಷಕಾರಿ ಇದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನಾಲಿಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಪಾಟ್ನೆ.
Leaching is catalyzed by the addition of hydrogen peroxide. Large volumes of reaction mixture, when agitated in presence of air for about 36 hours, gold forms a stable, soluble complex called sodium orocyanide. The most difficult challenge one faces in the extraction of gold is handling of deadly poisonous sodium cyanide. This complex is stored in stock pulp tanks. From sodium orocyanide complex, gold to be recovered in place of traditional zinc precipitation method in Hatti gold mines. CIP, carbon in pulp process, is practiced. Stock pulp is treated with activated carbon. Sodium orocyanide complex gets adsorbed on the activated carbon at room temperature and at a pH of about 7. This adsorption is a reversible thermodynamic process. About 30 grams of activated carbon per liter of pulp is sufficient to adsorb most of the accessible gold. This process of adsorption takes about 36 hours. Activated carbon loaded with gold washed with water is collected into the specially made containers. Greasy material and other contaminants with gold-loaded carbon are removed by treatment with acid. Dried, gold-loaded carbon is then sent for electro-winning unit. A mixture of gold-loaded activated carbon, 1% sodium cyanide solution and sodium hydroxide solution kept in the elution tank is heated to about 95 degrees Celsius. Sodium orocyanide adsorbed on the activated carbon now desorbs. This solution is subjected for electrolysis using steel wool as a cathode. At a deposition voltage of about 2.5 volts, gold deposits on the cathode. After 72 hours, these cathodes are replaced by fresh ones. Activated carbon regenerated can be recycled after reactivation. Impure gold obtained by gravity concentration and gold deposited on steel wool are together roasted and sent for smelting. Roasted impure gold is mixed with silica, manganese dioxide and soda ash acting as fluxes. The mixture kept in highly refractory graphite crucibles is smelted for 1.5 hours at a temperature of more than 1200 degrees Celsius. Smelting is melting. Molten mass is poured out. dense, solid gold is separated from the slag. Hot, solid gold is quenched in water. Hard and dedicated labor has now paid rich dividends in the form of saleable gold bullion. Since 1948, Hatti Gold Mines have produced 58.73 tons of gold from 8.65 million tons of ore. These mines have still proved ore reserves of 6.68 million tons with about 6 grams of gold per 1,000 kilograms of ore. Let us know the vision and aims of the General Manager, Hatti Gold Mines Limited.
We are one of the deepest mine. After KGF, closure of the after KGF, we are one of the deepest mine and the biggest deposit in terms of number of reefs, potential and potential to grow further. As on today, we have got a proved reserve which can last for nearly 15 to 20 years. We have got nearly 4,000 employees. Our motto is to develop the mine, create wealth and have a sustained life so that this backward area will have a gradual and regular growth and potential for employment. Our aim is, vision and aim is to become a pioneer and a prime producer of gold, develop a good mining technology which is contemporary to the mining technology of the other countries outside the India.
As one returns from Hatti Gold Mines, one will see thousands of tons of solid residue free from cyanide being dumped. This residue contains other valuable metals. Researchers have a tremendous scope to analyze this residue and study its applications.